Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Rabblecast. My name is Eric Hernandez, and you are listening to episode number 599. I should be a little bit further down the number list, but things got in the way. Wasn't able to sit down and record. Here I am once again, trying my best to give you guys some entertainment, some content, and some fun. So with that, I think, even if you haven't listened, this is your first time, I always try to leave it open-ended whenever I do an episode. I don't want to do an episode just for the quote-unquote listeners, even though, trust me, I greatly appreciate anybody who takes the time to listen to my ramblings, especially when it's just me by myself. But I always try to leave it open-ended for anybody, for the first-time listeners. Thank you. Welcome, and thank you for listening to this intro, this episode, because I just giving you a few things that I came across, a few thoughts, a few ideas that maybe somebody out there just hasn't had the time to do themselves. On this episode, I talk about a few things, and I try to tie it all nicely together with a little bow. I talk about my recent VR experience, virtual reality, with the Oculus Quest. Jen and I picked one up recently. We've been playing around with it. We've played around with VR in the past with the HTC Vive, and I go into some of the nice features of the Oculus Quest, and from there I'll give you a little bit of a rundown, a few games that I've tried out, a few things we've played with here and there. I'm going to continue experimenting with it and see what I can get out of it. I'm enjoying it so far. A wireless experience, which is always a fun thing to do. From there, I go over to talk about Knives Out, the 2019 movie from Rian Johnson, starring an ensemble cast of amazing actors that all came together to make this amazing film. I'm not telling you anything that you haven't probably heard already from when the movie came out in the theaters. My dumbass didn't get to see it until recently. I got to watch it on Amazon Prime because it's streaming now. And because of that, I was delighted to watch that film, and I will watch it again more than likely because it was that entertaining. Go through that. I talk about it. Rian Johnson's. A lot of people might know Rian Johnson nowadays from his Star Wars film, The Last Jedi, and the reaction that film got. I strongly believe that it was undue, and he is a very talented individual, and I have no doubt that he'll be able to continue working and putting out stuff that he loves and enjoys, and maybe stay away from the Star Wars, maybe stay away from the large fandoms, maybe create your own little corner of the internet in the film universe and enjoy that. Don't have to play in somebody else's sandbox necessarily. And then I also talk about the recent release of the revived show Unsolved Mysteries. That's not on TV this time. It is on Netflix. And also, interesting little tidbit for that one, no narrator this time around. No Robert Stack, no Dennis Farina. Completely narrator-less, I guess you can say. But still, a very enticing, entertaining show that tries to tell stories of people who either have gone missing, causes of death have been, undetermined, mysteries, hauntings, aliens, but it's fun to see the show back, and I'm looking forward to more episodes and more volumes, so to speak. The first one that's on Netflix for now is referred to as Volume 1. I'm hoping Volume 2 is not that far off, and we'll see. I'm only one episode in so far, so I really can't say too much. All I know is that I loved that show from when I was growing up. It creeped me the fuck out sometimes when I was late night watching it, especially reruns. But to have it back again, fantastic. I'm rambling out at this point, so if you've stuck with me in the intro so far, you always have the option of skipping forward. But let me just close out the intro by saying we are brought to you by InsidePulse.com. You can find us under the podcast section as per usual. You can also find the show over at Rabblecast.libsyn.com is where I normally post it. You can check us out also on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Rabblecast. I post the episodes there just to give people another option as far as listening to the show. There's no video portion to it. A lot of people ask me, well, why is it just the title card? Because one, I don't know how to do title cards for YouTube. I really don't play around with it too much. I am trying to get to it, and I will try to update a few things here and there, but I would upload the audio same as you would get for iTunes or off of Rabblecast.libsyn.com, just so people can enjoy the show through different means. If you're at work and you can't get iTunes, go to YouTube, punch it up or load it up, whatever the case is. put it on in the background, listen to it, have fun. I'm just trying to entertain you people. That's all. Don't give me shit. You can also check us out on Twitter at Rabblecast. Send us an email, rabblecast@gmail.com. I think I asked earlier. This, for anybody who doesn't know, I do the intros after the fact now. It just makes it a little bit easier. That way I know what I spoke about. Anybody out there who's playing on Oculus, if you want to add me as a friend, send me a message at rabblecast@gmail.com or message me on the Rabblecast Facebook fan page. Always be nice to keep in touch with people and see what's going on. Again, because I'm experimenting with the Quest, I want to see what I can do, what I can get out of it, and see what happens. A lot of fun so far. So let's see. We talked about Inside Pulse. We talked about Rabblecast.libsyn.com, the YouTube channel, at Rabblecast on Twitter, Rabblecast@gmail.com, and then the Facebook fan page. That's pretty much it right now. I'm trying to, again, work on the show, get a few more things done for it so far. Jen has come up with some new artwork for the site, I'm trying to remember the title card. Jesus Christ, it's late. I'm done. I'm all done. Don't worry about it, people. That's it. I'm done talking. I hope you've enjoyed the intro so far, and there's so much more to come. So I hope you enjoy the show. Here we are again in the studio trying to get some stuff done. Once again, time is very, very short. It's very, very precious right now with everything going on and having now a family to look after. I mean, having one son was one thing, but now having two kids and trying to make sure that everything stays afloat, that's the juggling act. I don't know how my parents did it, but they managed somehow, and it was a different time then. So not to get into anything of those details, I guess you can say. But past couple weeks, I was having trouble sitting down, finding some time to actually sit and record. Every time I would try to find a quiet block of time or a quiet moment that I could actually collect my thoughts and sit down and do some stuff, things just kept getting away from me. So I'm sure I've missed a few tidbits of news here and there that we could talk about, a few different things that I've gone over myself, whether it be a movie, a video game, anything of that nature. It just happens, unfortunately. But I wanted to make sure that I get a chance to sit down this weekend. Right off the bat, if you're listening to this, 4th of July just passed us. I hope you enjoyed your 4th of July, whether it be with fireworks, friends, family, close friends and family, due to everything that's going on right now. We were fortunate enough to get together with some close family. Everybody's been safe. Everybody's been keeping to themselves. So we got together for a small barbecue, small little get together, and it was quite nice, quite needed change of pace. So that was a fun day today that we had a chance to go out and do everything. And then when I got home, Jen's like, do what you got to do. I'll take care of the kids. And it's very much appreciated. It's not easy. It's not easy to go through all the different things, but I'll spare you all the details. But as far as things that I've been into recently, things that I've been going through, this is all going to be kind of a stream of thought episode, as they've been recently, only because, again, I'm not going to sit down and write down every little thing I'm going over or try to pour over every little detail, but some things that I've been enjoying recently. Jen and I actually were fortunate enough to buy an Oculus Quest. For anybody who's into VR, virtual reality, it's a lot of fun. It's a wireless headset, which is what sold me on it. One of the developers was doing an interview, and when they mentioned that there's no lighthouses, no wires needed to run, you can just run from the device or stream from a laptop if necessary with a cable. It's optional, but it's not necessary. We said, why not? Let's give it a shot. We tried the HTC Vive in the past. In fact, I've purchased one of those for business reasons, and it was working quite well. But I didn't like the cumbersome, hookups with all the different lighthouses, power sources for each one of them, and then having to run cables from the headset back to the computer, because you twist and turn and move around in VR depending on what game you're playing. And eventually those wires do wear out, and not to mention the connections to the headset themselves. So it was a nice little change of pace to find something that was not going to have that same wear and tear, essentially. So when I heard about the Oculus Quest, which is the latest offering from Oculus, I think they have the Rift S, the Go. I know the Oculus Go is being discontinued as of recently. They mentioned it. It was one of the notifications that popped up, and we decided let's see what they have. Now, one of the things that I realized is, like, we'd bought some games off of Steam, the Steam VR store, and we used it. Beat Saber is a very popular game that a lot of people enjoy, and if you remember Guitar Hero for the consoles, people liked, getting the games, and then you had the DLC, you can buy song packs, and that's really where the money was really made, because they would give you one or two songs you really liked, and some of the other songs, it's kind of iffy. Beat Saber is the same thing. They have different song packs you can buy. People have managed to figure out a way how to customize the playlist, which is always nice. I know we found a way for the HTC Vive version that we had, and we were able to add a few things here and there, and it's nice. The only downside is whenever they update the OS or the system, then you have to go back in and walk through some steps, and hopefully they didn't find a way to shut down or block whichever method you were using to try to load songs, because you do one now and then a month later there's a new update and suddenly you have to redo the steps or find a new way to do it. There's a few different ways that you can go about it. The nice thing about the Oculus Quest that we realized is there is a application called SideQuest. Very cute name. What SideQuest allows you to do is it allows you to what they refer to as side loading a game. Now, SideQuest is like another mini store. It's not the official Oculus store. They're very picky as far as what games go up there. But SideQuest are, what's the best way to put this? SideQuest is a way for developers to test games out. So you might find a game and they're relatively cheap, maybe like $10, $15, whatever the case is. But these games are not necessarily finished products. These games are put up there, and either they didn't make it to the official Quest store or the Oculus store, or they're just games that are being worked on. And if you want to give them a shot, try them out, there are it's like the Wild West of games that you can download and try and play. SideQuest is also used to sideload a bunch of other different things. I'll leave that up to anybody who's interested. There's plenty of videos out there on YouTube or on Reddit. You can find links where you can do different things. One of which is apparently customizing, again, Beat Saber and playing games that way. But there are plenty of games that you can play on the Oculus Quest that I was quite pleased to try out and see what you can do. I mentioned before Beat Saber. I found a fun little Poker Stars VR, I think it's called. It's very addictive. I like playing poker to begin with friends, or the occasional trip to the casino, which has been quite some time for me, especially with everything going on. But it's fun to be able to sit down. You can either join a table or host a table, and you can have some fun. But now the quirk of it is you use your avatar that you create as your profile, and then from there you can buy items from the store. So if you want to buy a vape pen, if you want to buy a cigarette, whatever the case is silly stuff that you would expect at a poker table. Or you can buy like a katana, a laser sword, guns, rifles, you name it, they have it, like little tchotchkes here and there, and you can play around at the table with them. It kind of distracts from the game a little bit sometimes when somebody just throws like a laser sword through the air and you're trying to figure out what bet you want to make, what cards you got, what's coming down the river, whatever the case is. But it's fun. It's silly moments here and there. I hosted a game, was it last night or the night before? Recently I was playing one of the tables that I created, and I was fortunate enough to get players who were actually willing to play seriously, not go nuts. It's frustrating when you sit down and before you even get the first 3 cards revealed when you're playing poker, and somebody just wants to go all in because they go, I got a good hand, I got a good set of cards. Okay, yes, you can do that, but not every hand needs to be an all-in bet or an all-out ridiculous bet, unless you're just like playing high roller poker. That's a different story entirely. But The game that we played, we went back and forth, won a few hands, lost a few hands, folded here and there. You get a rhythm going. You have fun with people. You can high five people, fist bump kind of thing. It's a fun little way to go. It's especially right now with everything going on with this crazy world where we're not supposed to be making physical contact. You know what? VR is not a bad way to go about it right now. And the other thing you can do is, because Oculus is bought out now by Facebook and owned by Facebook, if you want, you could log in with your Facebook credentials. I chose not to. I'm trying to keep that whole separate. It's fun to, do a few things here and there. That, and our son loves to play it so far. Once I'm sure the other little guy grows up a little bit, there'll be a few advancements here and there as far as VR. Virtual reality is fun. If you haven't had a chance to jump into it, and you're not really keen on setups and making sure you have things in a particular configuration, I guess you can say, with lighthouses and wires and everything, I would highly recommend the Oculus Quest. It's a lot of fun. You draw out a little play area on the floor, so you know where you can go as far as like inbounds or out of bounds. It'll warn you as you're going through. Once you go through the play area, or they refer to it as the Guardian zone, then you'll see the environment that you're currently in infrared. So it's like a black and white camera. It warns you essentially that you're about to bump into something or you're leaving the play zone. And then once you go back in, you can reset things, have fun, and go through. The other thing I want to try out soon is I loaded it up just to see what it would look like. I loaded up Netflix, and they give you a nice little environment of it looks like a log cabin or a nice mansion up on the hills. I can't really distinguish it, but you have a picturesque scene of like snow-capped mountains, a huge big screen TV in front of you, and a nice little cozy area that you can relax and play the game or watch a movie in. And it looks really interesting. I was hoping it was going to be a little bit more immersive, but I'm assuming that that's going to be a little bit down the line, where if you watch a movie that's in, let's say, widescreen format, maybe there's a little bit extra that you can look on to the left or right or up and down. So it makes you feel like you're actually standing there in the film with some of these characters, just watching everything unfold. I know I'd mentioned this way before on previous episodes. A lot of people talk about hopefully using VR to give people the live concert or live sporting event experience. So being able to be front row at a concert, or the 50-yard line during the Super Bowl, or maybe courtside seats during a basketball game, especially right now, once again, we can't go out and enjoy our lives the way we normally would. So it's a nice little way to get around it. If, let's say, if the different sports leagues do open up again and allow us to allow the teams to play and televise things, okay, maybe you don't want to pay for the cable bill for everything else. If you're subscribed to the Oculus, I don't know, let's say like a NBA sports app or whatever the case is, then you'll be able to watch these games live through your headset. Just make sure you're plugged into your laptop for power or whatever power source you have, and you could sit there. I think I got about 2 to 3 hours worth of playtime on the headset last time. But then again, I was also casting or airplaying my video output to one of my phone or my tablet, just to let everybody else, because again, you're wearing a visor, so not everybody can see what you're seeing as you try to describe different things. As I was trying to show one of our friends what the visuals look like, I made sure to cast it to my tablet and left the tablet up on the table as I played in the living room, and they were like, "Oh, this is what you're seeing right now." Yeah, I was playing a game of Beat Saber, and it's fun. You get to see what the player sees. That way you can have fun that way. There was another title that came out. I'm trying to remember what it was. Rec Room is another one, apparently. REC Room is a place where people can just socialize, get together, have fun. You can either create a room or go to somebody else's room and just play silly games here and there, back and forth. And it's, again, another way to interact with people on online through VR. And if you haven't seen your friend in a while, you want to log into the VR space and go hang out, play some cards together, play hide and seek together, whatever the case is, play tag. There's different ways that you can do all these things now through VR. And another thing that really enticed me when I was listening to the interview was the fact that VR headsets have been selling out like crazy recently because of everything that's going on. People can't go out, so they're like, let's screw it, just stay home, play. Everybody's been, through the whole console experience, and we're about to experience another step as far as the newer consoles coming out. PS5 has been announced. Xbox has already talked about their next console. So that's not going to happen to the holiday of this year, if at all at this point. And I say that only because I'm very hesitant whenever any company announces something now. Like, oh, in the next few months we're planning on unveiling this. Some companies have taken a back seat. Some companies have decided to hold off on release dates or announcements because they're like, you know what, this is not the time with everything going on. Not just the virus, but, the protesting and riots that have gone on. People are just a little leery right now as far as going outdoors. Because you never know what's going to happen these days. You really don't. You've got to be safe. You've got to be mindful of what you're doing, where you're going, and who and what you're interacting with. Because it's not even saying, oh, you're going to get sick. No, it's just watch out for yourself and for your loved ones. So it's better safe than sorry right now. If you don't want to do that, then hey, that's your choice. But here I am trying to be responsible and trying to convey some responsible ideas for anybody out there. So again, for me, I'll wrap this up as far as the VR. Oculus Quest, there are two models out there currently. There's a 64 gig and 128 gig. I think they're between $400 and $500 a piece. Jen and I, we wanted to do some R&D for business reasons, so decided to go out there and get the top model, the 128, and we've been having a lot of fun with it. We downloaded a few apps here and there. I had mentioned the poker game, Beat Saber, definitely. The Rec Room is another one I downloaded, and Netflix, just to experiment with that later. So once the kids go to bed, I think I'm going to be having a little bit more fun in VR. So if anybody out there has got a VR headset and they want to, link up on the Oculus system, let's exchange information. Why not? Send me an email to rabblecast@gmail.com or send me a message on the Facebook page and see what happens, because I would like to try to get some more interactions as far as people. I've met a few nice strangers here and there, like when you play poker and somebody wins a hand, if it was a good competition back and forth, whether the bets were responsible or not, you can high five or fist bump, and it's a fun little thing. One of the guys was giving me a vape pen in VR, which was kind of weird because in VR space you can see your hand. You can actually make a fist in VR space. So when you pick up the little vape pen, you bring it up to your avatar's face and then you let go, and it instantly lodges itself into your avatar's mouth. And then when you remove it, again by making a fist on the item and pull it away, a little vape or puff of smoke came out. And I was like, this is oddly immersive. Like, I don't smoke in real life, but as I sat there playing poker, it was kind of a nice little gesture to do after you place the bet, especially when you've got a winning hand. You're like, oh, I got this, and you puff a little cigarette or a pipe, whatever you got there. It was a cute little touch, a little nuance for the game. So again, I'll be experimenting with a few of the games, a few of the different aspects of it, and I'll try to report back here and there and see what happens. For anybody out there who's looking for something else to do or watch, I recently decided to once again go back and look for different movies, and I was fortunate enough. Again, this is a 2019 movie, so still going with my theme of catching up on stuff I haven't been able to watch or something I haven't been able to enjoy in the theaters. The movie Knives Out from Rian Johnson. Anybody who doesn't know who Rian Johnson is, he is the gentleman who is responsible for Star Wars: The Last Jedi. The movie that became so divisive, or divisive, how do you say that? As far as Star Wars fans, which, let's face it, when anything gets a fandom that becomes so large, it's kind of hard to please everybody, especially the diehard fans. I remember going to watch Star Wars: The Last Jedi at our local theater back in the day when it came out. And when I walked out, my friend was the manager. So what'd you think? And I said to him, look, either people are going to love it or they're going to hate it. There's never going to be a consensus where everybody says, this is a great movie. No. The Force Awakens, for Star Wars fans, people loved it because it was a new Star Wars movie. The franchise was continuing, especially under the control of Disney at that point. So J.J. Abrams did a really good job of giving you a lot of the beats, a lot of the play the hits, essentially, is what he did, as a good way to put it. He played the hits, give you all the notes that you loved and you enjoyed, and he gave you The Force Awakens, which essentially was a carbon copy of A New Hope. So I've been told. I agree with it for the most part. Nothing new ventured in that area. Introducing new characters, continuing the story. A lot of fun. And then when Rian Johnson came in and did The Last Jedi, they allowed him to do a lot of things differently. And with that, he did away with a lot of things that J.J. Abrams had done. And for some reason, it was just... I go back and think and watch it again, because I've seen it a couple times now at this point. Yeah, it's not the Star Wars that I would have loved to have seen on the screen. In fact, that's one of the reasons I liked it, because it didn't give me the same formula over and over again. It tried to venture outside the box, and because of that, fans got pissed off. And I understand. I get it. I understand why something that you hold so precious, so dear, that people would say, that's not my Star Wars. Okay, I get it. But nowadays, again, with social media and people being so loud on social platforms, that the outcry of F that guy and that's not Star Wars, whatever the case is, was so much louder this time around that I don't think Rian Johnson got the appropriate response, really what it came down to. He got a lot of hate for it. And I, for one, enjoyed The Last Jedi because it gave us a bunch of different things that I wasn't expecting. It zigged when it should have zagged. It gave us different character story points and different development than you would expect. Now, are there things that could have been done differently? Absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. The spoilers, if you haven't watched it, there is one story point where two of the characters go off to find I'm trying to remember the name of the guy. Not a cartographer, but somebody who can break code, essentially. So they go out searching for this guy who can help them out and try to break into the Star Destroyer so they can take control of the Empire's weapon. And as they go to this casino planet, which at first seemed like a really, really cool way to introduce a new world, a new environment. But really, that whole segue into that little story arc, it just seemed odd and out of place and didn't hit as deep or as I'm trying to, they didn't land it quite as well as they probably would have wanted it to. So because of that, again, people got upset, people got annoyed, and they're like, that's not what, I know Star Wars for, ice planets, sand planets, swamps, stuff like that. That's what we want. And then they give us this like luxurious casino planet, which they introduced the idea that the high rollers are the people who are dealing with both the rebellion and the Empire. So who, if these guys are having a war, who's making the weapons? That aspect I thought was kind of neat. But aside from that, it was a little bit off the beaten path. And I like it and dislike it for the same reasons. So I take it with a grain of salt. I enjoyed what happened. I wish a few things weren't done away with from what JJ did, but I enjoyed what Rian Johnson tried to do, and then from there. I'm not going to go into the third movie in the new trilogy, because I'm trying to talk about Knives Out. I mentioned all of that because with the amount of outcry that Rian Johnson got for The Last Jedi, people are like, oh, this guy sucks, he'll never work in Hollywood again, who would ever give him another movie? Well, nobody has to give him another movie. Rian Johnson does pretty well on his own. He has a bunch of different films that he's put out previously, and that just what essentially gave him the chance to go do The Last Jedi. I believe, pardon me here. Well, I'll get to that in a second, actually. I don't want to go too far out. Knives Out is a fun murder mystery. If anybody has read or watched at this point, because it's been adapted numerous times, Agatha Christie is a very famous murder mystery novelist. Writer, author. Knives Out was done in the same style or styling as Agatha Christie. So it gives you this group of people who are supposed to be gathering for their father's 85th birthday. And on his 85th birthday, he ends up... This is not ruining anything. This is the beginning of the film. He ends up dead through some means. And now you have this entire family who's being questioned, and they're trying to figure out who has motive, who doesn't, who was where, who left the party, whatever the case was, and it became a whodunit. And because right there, that alone, it sucks you in. even the interrogation scenes at the very beginning where they're trying to figure out where everybody was, who had a good relationship or bad relationship with their father. The father at this point is, in the storyline itself, he is also a novelist of murder mysteries. So it becomes one of those things like, oh, it's unfolding like one of his stories. And that became a lot of fun. So Rian Johnson did a spectacular job in hooking you right in the beginning and then having this whole thing play out. I remember one point, just as a side note, I was watching it on Amazon Prime Video. I was just scrolling through for something to watch, and I happened to come across it, and I was very delighted because that's one of the movies that I definitely was waiting for it to come on, like Netflix or something else. But when I saw it on Prime, I'm like, hey, why not? I'm not going to be picky on which service I watch it on. I just want to see the content in the film. And when I watched it, I was about, well, I didn't know this at the time. I had to pause the movie because I had to help my wife. As I pause the movie, I go to stand up and I look at the counter. I try to avoid it when I'm watching movies because I don't want to, disconnect from the movie that much. When I saw the counter, it said only an hour into the movie. There was still an hour and change still left. I was like, we're only halfway through. Ooh, this is really good. Like, I was excited to go do what I had to go do and then come back, sit down, and watch the rest of it. I wanted to see how the rest of the story played out. So I was delighted to see that there was that much. I was only halfway through at that point. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. So I sat down and I thoroughly enjoyed it. My only problem is we got to the very end when they do the whole reveal. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but as the characters are going through and they go through the steps and how they figure out the murder, when they figure out what had happened, sometimes I feel, and this is, I don't know if this is the writer's fault or, as you make the movie, you have to try to convey the ideas to the audience. Sometimes it always just seems like kind of a little far-flung. So like just out of reach, out of what you would consider being possible. But then again, we're watching a movie. This is fiction. So with that, at the same time where I questioned, I have to kind of let it go because this is not real life. But as they go through the different things, it almost... it gave me a flashback of the movie Clue when they do the different various endings of how it could have been done. It seemed almost like that. Let me just run down the list of some of the people in here that really played out really, really well in their roles. Daniel Craig plays a gentleman by the name of Benoit Blanc. He is an investigator. And this was really interesting because when you first see Daniel Craig in the movie, he does not speak with that typical English accent that you know him for, especially if you watch the Bond films, as he's been James Bond in the recent movies. But he comes out with this southern drawl. And I looked it up later on. They even reference it in the movie. He sounds like Foghorn Leghorn a little bit, just a little bit softer, a little bit more drawn out. But he does such a great job that you're watching this like, wow, this is really good. And especially as he's going through and he's picking out different details and he's finding out the different motives, and as the different family members volunteer information or he stumbles upon different things. Chris Evans plays one of the the grandson of the author who dies in the movie. Ransom Drysdale. What was the name of the guy? Harlan Thrombey is the name of the gentleman who... The name of the character, that passes away and causes all this chaos to happen. Chris Evans plays a great character because his character does not get revealed to you right at the get-go. You see him very sporadically in the beginning, and then his character starts to unravel itself, unveil itself, and that's a great performance from Chris Evans. Again, who you're used to seeing as characters like Captain America, or if you're watching Snowpiercer. I'm trying to remember the other movie I saw him in recently. But it's a change of pace. So it's fun to see him have fun with a role. And even I found out after the fact that he was able to suggest a few things to the director, which they were able to keep in the film as they kept doing different shots. Ana de Armas plays Marta Cabrera. She's the nurse to Mr. Thrombey in the film. Another great actress who does an astonishing job as she plays through. Jamie Lee Curtis plays one of the kids. Linda Drysdale is her name. Her character is married to another gentleman, which we'll get to in a second. Michael Shannon, Don Johnson, Toni Collette, Lakeith Stanfield, Christopher Plummer plays Harlan Thrombey, Catherine Langford, Jaden Martell, Ricky Lindholm played Donna Thrombey. Oh, you know what? I didn't even catch that. Holy crap. That's really interesting. Okay, Ricky Lindholm, if I'm not mistaken, I believe she is part of the Garfunkel and Oates musical duo. She's a lot of fun. Frank Oz makes an appearance, and a bunch of other people pop in here and there. Everybody does a great job coming together as this ensemble cast as all the details start to unveil and, the mystery gets solved, essentially. How it all happens and how it plays out. It has you thinking from the get-go. All the different details in the background you have to pay attention to, because from the very beginning you have a bunch of different things that are mentioned or said, or there's a statue in the background or a painting here. All those little things come together to give you this fantastic ending that, if you compare it to the release of Star Wars: The Last Jedi, where Rian Johnson was just touted as the Antichrist as far as Star Wars fans are concerned, when you go to the release of Knives Out, he's being praised as a genius. Oh my God, this guy's amazing. Why doesn't he do more stuff like this? This is his own story. This is his own movie. This is his, I believe, is his first time releasing it as a producer, or at least distributing it, and one of the two. And he did a fantastic job. The movie's so well put together and so well made that now at this point that they are talking about having a sequel. Now you were thinking to yourself, well, how are you going to have a sequel to a murder mystery? Well, this story, as far as I can tell, is self-contained to the Thrombey family and how that all plays out. But the character of Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig, could very easily come back around for another story. So it could be like The Adventures of Benoit Blanc. Knives Out 2, quote-unquote, is not been confirmed as the name of the next movie. It could be a play on it, or at least, The Adventures of Benoit Blanc, whatever you want to call it. And we'll have another continuation of that, because Daniel Craig did an astonishing job, and I would love to see more of that character play out. Forget James Bond. At this point, he's delayed until 2021, as far as I can tell. It would be fun to see another character being created and portrayed on screen by Daniel Craig. If you've heard about different rumors and news as far as Hollywood's concerned, Daniel Craig, although he enjoyed playing James Bond, because I'm sure it's an honor and a privilege to have that kind of a character under your belt, on your resume, after a while, it becomes all-consuming of time, energy, and after a while, a lot of actors don't want to be typecast or pigeonholed. They would rather go out and explore different characters, different genres, different types of films. And I would imagine that Daniel Craig, at this point, would have a lot of fun with Benoit Blanc and continuing mysteries and different capers. So it would be nice to see what happens. But altogether, Rian Johnson's Knives Out, fantastic movie. So if you get a chance, again, Amazon Prime is where I saw it. Doesn't matter how you see it, doesn't matter where you rent it from, watch it. It's a lot of fun. And a little tidbit for anybody out there who got the I believe it was the Blu-ray Steelbook collector's case edition of the movie, as there's many released when a film comes out. But apparently on the Steelbook version, if you take off the sleeve or the cover, there is a collection of knives that is shaped like a large circle, just all the knives pointing to the center. It's a piece that's used in the film itself. They use it for decoration on the cover of the DVD. But apparently, if you take it off and flip it around and put the case back on, rumor is, and I don't want to ruin this for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. If you flip it around, when the cover is back on, all the knives point to the culprit in the movie. It's a very coy way of trying to say it's this is the person responsible for it. So pointing at that individual, you want to check it out. So let's see, Rian Johnson, if anybody knows and anything that he's done in the past, Knives Out, we just talked about. Looper, the movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis, time travel movie, that's another fun one. Brick apparently is another murder mystery from 2005. I have not watched it, but I've heard about it. Knives 2 is tentative right now. There's no date there. Apparently he did some work on Breaking Bad. I'm trying to find something else he's done that might have been mentioned out there. The Brothers Bloom in 2008. And that's all that's really ringing a bell for me as far as when I'm doing this quick search here. So at one point, Rian Johnson was tapped for another trilogy of Star Wars movies. Initially, the front office for Star Wars and Disney, they liked what he was doing, and they offered him his own trilogy after the current trilogy that was just released. But because of the reaction of the fans and how fans weren't really keen on what he was doing, he pretty much stepped away from it. So that proposed trilogy is not going to happen. We'll see how it all plays out. I mean, things are always change in the realm of film, producing, directing, distribution. You never know what happens. But Rian Johnson has no lack of talent that I'm sure he'll be able to go out there and once again find another film or another project that he wants to work on and puts it out there. So after watching Knives Out, really, it just goes to show you that maybe the Star Wars fans were a little too rough on this guy, because he does do some great work. Maybe he doesn't play so well in your sandbox, but when you put him in his own sandbox, he comes up with some really great stories. So we'll see how that turns out. And then lastly, I'll leave you off with another fun little thing, sticking with the idea of murder mystery in this one. We're going to be 2 for 2. For fans of the old show Unsolved Mysteries, hosted by Robert Stack, or I believe Dennis Ferrara was the other gentleman last time, or Farina, excuse me. It was a television show where they would talk about mysteries that had gone unsolved for whatever reason, whether it be murders, suicides. They would even get into a little bit of the supernatural with ghosts, hauntings, aliens, stuff like that. They ran the gamut, really, and they had a broad scope of different stories that they would retell or reenact. In fact, that's one of the places where I remember seeing a lot of actors being hired for reenactments of somebody who was abducted or somebody who went missing. They reenact the final moments as best they can piece it together. Unsolved Mysteries has come back, not to TV, but to Netflix, and they've released recently, I believe this past Wednesday, July 1st, once again going through a whole bunch of different stories of people who have gone missing or have ended up dead somehow. And the first episode, I can say right now, Rey Rivera, the story of this gentleman who was at home one night, he was working, gets a phone call, abruptly leaves his house and goes to meet up with somebody, and then goes missing for I think it was like 6 or 8 days. And eventually, after they form like search parties to go look for him in the city of was it Baltimore? I can't remember. It was the Belvedere Hotel out in Baltimore, where they eventually find this gentleman's body. He had gone through one of the lower roofs, and he was, after days of being injured or possibly even beaten up, he was dead. There's no getting around that. Let's face it, that's Unsolved Mysteries. People missing or dead. But the idea was that the police department had ruled it a suicide, where if you hear the stories from this gentleman's brother or widow, you hear the stories that may paint a different story than suicide. It looks like there could have been foul play, but because of the way the PD handled it and how they've already labeled it, they're like, "Yep, no, we're convinced that it was suicide." Meanwhile, the coroner says, the way his body was contorted and due to the injuries and the breaking of certain bones and certain injuries sustained to the body, we're going to leave this one undetermined because we don't have a clear-cut way of saying he was suffocated, or he jumped off a roof, or whatever the case was. They didn't have sufficient enough evidence to put a determination down one way or the other. So with that in mind, the story of Ray Parker, the story of Rey Rivera is a very, very interesting one to begin with. So if you get a chance, there's 9 more past that. I only watched the first one. That's what I had time after the kids went to bed. I'm very, very interested to watch the rest of them. Unsolved Mysteries was one of those shows when I was growing up that Robert Stack and Dennis Farina had voices that haunted you as you watched these stories play out. When they narrated the different episodes, you were just left with like this creepy feeling, like somebody was watching over you. Somebody was, around the corner when you go to the kitchen or you go to the basement kind of thing. And it creeped me the fuck out when I was growing up. You kind of get that same feeling here, but for this round of Unsolved Mysteries, there's no narrator. Unfortunately, Mr. Farina and Stack have both long since passed, which is very unfortunate. They were amazing actors and voice actors, so it's a shame to lose those two gentlemen. Robert Stack, and people remember him from Unsolved Mysteries primarily, as far as I know. He has been in a bunch of other films. I believe he's in one of the Caddyshack movies. He's also the voice of Ultra Magnus from the 1986 Transformers animated movie. And he did such a great job there that they barely really modulated his voice to give it that robotic sound. And he did a great job as Ultra Magnus in that film. Dennis Farina, I hope I'm saying his name right. Farina Ferrari. I remember him from a number of different films, but more specifically Snatch, Guy Ritchie's film, where he's going around and he plays Cousin Avi as they're trying to find this, fist-sized gem that's gone missing, thanks to Frankie Four Fingers, who was played by Benicio del Toro. I can go into a whole segue on this one. Dennis Farina did a fantastic job in that movie, playing Cousin Avi, as he's just trying to track down what's his, and he just goes through no end of shit as he tries to go overseas to England to tie up some loose ends as far as business is concerned. Not having those two gentlemen around anymore to work on this new iteration of Unsolved Mysteries is unfortunate, because there's so many different things that they could contribute and help with. But it's kind of interesting to watch it without a narrator. So give it a shot. If you've loved the series in the past, as soon as the episode wraps up, that same creepy music plays in the background, and it gives you that same chill, that same feeling. So if you get a chance, if you love crime dramas or reenactments or mysteries, again, Unsolved Mysteries brings that to you full force. And unlike Knives Out, unfortunately, these are real stories. These are people that have lost somebody or are in pain and are just trying to cope with that pain and loss to see what happened. So that's something that I would definitely recommend to anybody out there with a Netflix account. Check it out, see what happens. I hope they come out with another one. It's listed as Volume 1 on Netflix currently. I definitely would love to see later volumes. In fact, I believe it's unsolved.com. If you have any information on any of the cases that you watch during Volume 1, they are taking tips for people who might be able to help out and shed some new light on some of these different stories. Because in the case of Rey Rivera, who goes missing for a couple days, who maybe somebody saw him, maybe somebody in the hotel heard something, maybe it was somebody who was staying there that noticed an altercation or noticed something out of place, because one of the theories that's touted is that he either was thrown or jumped off of the roof of the Belvedere. That's not an easy task, considering where he landed on the lower roof. If you watch the episode, they'll try to lay it out for you. There's a large gap in between the two, from which you'd be able to accomplish that task, or hitting that target, so to speak. So if there's anybody out there who's been around the areas they talk about, maybe somebody has some information. Maybe somebody saw a license plate. Maybe somebody saw somebody get into a car, or whatever the case is. Different little details here and there. If somebody gets a chance, unsolved.com will help out. And then there's a few Wikipedia pages that popped up, and different things. So they are looking for help. And now this day and age with social media, hey, look, social media might actually be able to do something good. Back in the day, social media was to find out, hey, is that person single, or are they in a relationship, are they married? Hey, is that my old classmate? Whatever happened to such and such from down the road? Stuff like that. It was just to catch up with friends and see what they're doing. Nowadays, it's gotten really crazy what social media can do, and people can stalk one another and start political fights and arguments and whatever the case. Yeah, social media has become a weapon that's, or at least can be weaponized, and to the degree where it makes things uncomfortable sometimes. And maybe you're just better off not talking to such and such from back in the day, or whatever happened to that guy in the history class. Yeah, that's just not go there. Just keep to yourself, whatever the case. Play some VR. But social media in this case could become very helpful, because there's a lot of people out there who the local PD, sometimes the local law enforcement has a lot of cases on their hands, or a lot of different things they have to deal with, and maybe they don't have time to crack a code or figure out certain mysteries, because it just requires too many resources, and the department's like, so far, it's been a few weeks and nothing on that case. Let's call it unsolved, move on to the next one. But there's people online, like Reddit. Reddit was a really good example for the whole Rey Rivera case. There's a lot of people who apparently have already jumped into the note that was left by him. And it's not a suicide note. It's a weird note left by a writer. And because of that, people are like, oh, maybe there's a code in there. Maybe there's some kind of message that can be found. And people are trying to pick it apart and find images of that message so they can try to see if they can help out and decrypt something. So along those lines, that'd be really cool. So hopefully somebody can get together and figure that out. But again, that's through social platforms, that's through interactions online, so you never know what could happen as far as that's concerned. But yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there. Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix. Again, no narrator. It's kind of interesting to see it done this way, but I definitely am looking forward to watching some more episodes. In fact, I might try to squeeze one in tonight before going to bed. We'll see what happens. I'm already recording late. Everybody else is asleep. I'm sure the majority of people are asleep if you're not still up boozing for 4th of July. So what do we cover today? We cover the Oculus Quest, which is a lot of fun. A lot of different things. If you haven't played Beat Saber yet, find out a friend who has it, HTC Vive or Quest. Again, doesn't matter how you play it. Try it out. It's a fun, addictive game. Especially if you find a way to customize the playlists, it can be even more addictive and entertaining because you're playing songs that you enjoy. From there, Knives Out. I'm not telling you what hasn't already been said. That movie's fun. It's exciting. I want to watch it again to see if I missed any clues along the way, because I'm sure I did, especially when I was reading the trivia about it after the fact. And then Unsolved Mysteries, which is a lot of fun. Because for me, it's just, once again, going back to a time when I was a little bit younger and more naive and wide-eyed, just watching these stories being told or reenacted. One of the fun things about Unsolved Mysteries back in the day was if they actually came up with some kind of closure to an episode, they would re-air the episode, and then at the very end, as you would imagine the credits might begin to roll, they'll have a quote-unquote update, and then they'll say such and such found their family, or such and such was discovered, and unfortunately it is confirmed that they have been killed, or no new theories have come to light as far as this person's disappearance. So because of that, it's always fun to see. So at the very least, let's hope that Volume 2 has a few updates. That would be a lot of fun to see. If they have an update just from the new series that can give closure to a family or to a loved one out there who might be missing somebody or something, and we'll see what happens. But I apologize for the time off here and there, but I'm going to try to continue going through, recording episodes, having some fun. I've already talked to a few friends who might be interested in sitting down, having fun with me. So maybe we'll hear another voice on this episode. Oh, fuck. I'm completely fucking forgetting. Doug came back to visit. Doug came back to visit recently, and it was completely unexpected. Another movie that I was watching, if you get a chance to watch, Ford versus Ferrari. It has Matt Damon and Christian Bale. As we were finishing the movie, Jen and I get a text message saying, "Hey, out of curiosity, are you home? What are you doing?" He came by, and he was trying to be respectful as far as not getting too close, social distancing and whatnot. I walked up to the bastard and gave him a hug, and we sat down and spoke for a little bit. It was funny because after we spent hours talking together in my backyard, he left. He sent me a text when he got home, and then all of a sudden he goes, "You know what? Fuck, we didn't miss a step there. We didn't miss a beat. We should have recorded that." I'm like, nah, some conversations just should remain personal. But it was damn good to see him again. I wasn't sure when I was going to be able to see him again after him moving out to PA. And it's not far. I mean, he's about hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at most. But the fact that everything's been going on recently and then you haven't been able to see friends or familiar faces unless you're, within driving distance to make sure everybody is safe, I didn't know I was going to see him again. So the fact that he was in the neighborhood and came by and goes, "Hey, I have to come by again and see what happens." No promises, but maybe in the near future, maybe he and I will be able to sit down again and do another episode and see what happens. So I always leave the door open for him because he's just been a fantastic guy and a good friend. So if I could sit down and do more with him as far as a podcast, why the fuck not? If we can just get together, that's always a blessing. So, Doug, if you're listening, thank you. You you contributed that weekend to me not doing an episode. No, I'm kidding. But no, it would be nice to sit down with you once again and just have back and forth conversation. So, thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. And to everybody out there, if you've been this far, thank you for listening. We are the Rabblecast.